Oh my, he's a long way from suburban town. Oh my, he's in the city trying to work it out. Oh my, she's a long way from suburban town. Long way, really long way from suburbia. Big dreams, yeah. Big schemes, yeah. It's the random. Welcome back to the Same Live Channel, man. Today is gonna be me. It's gonna be chat, and we are reacting to a video from the one and only homie, Miguel Manuera. Ooh, I definitely said that right. How Sony is becoming the king of animation. I'm not gonna lie, Sony has been cooking up.
All know Sony Animation, the studio that brought us some of the best animated films, as well as some of the worst animated movies we've ever seen. Following up Smurfs and the Emoji Movie with the SpiderVerse is straight up diabolical. So to say they're confusing would be a massive understatement. But why? Why are they so inconsistent?
Appreciate that, Blue.
And more importantly, why might that inconsistency actually be the reason they become the best animation
Talk to me,
studio in the
Gangy.
next 5 years? There's a secret.
I'm not gonna lie, after dropping SpiderVerse, Sony could kind of do whatever they want. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Sony could kidnap you. Yes, you watching, and I would be like, damn, Sony, when's the second movie dropping? No cap. They could do whatever they want. They can't do no harm in my eyes right now.
No one is talking about. Seriously. Because what I found when I started really looking into how Sony operates kind of blew my mind. See, Sony founded its animation division in 2002. It wasn't born from a love of animation like Ghibli or Disney. Instead, Sony saw successful movies like Shrek and Monsters Inc. at the time and realized that they wanted in. The result was a studio with big ambitions but no strong creative DNA. Their first release, Open Season in 2006, which actually made a lot of money in theaters.
Open Season was so valid. Y'all didn't even watch Open Season. Y'all don't know about Open Season, bruh. Dang, bro. Open Season 5. Oh, y'all do know.
A very mid-animated movie for kids. It wasn't until their second movie that Sony
My fault. I thought that wasn't y'all body. Okay.
Stepped things up, releasing Surf's Up, a movie that did well at the box office, but that people also just loved because of how creative and funny it was. I mean, it was an animated mockumentary comedy film. That's unique as hell. And even though it came out after a ton of other Penguin movies like Madagascar, Happy Feet.
Oh my gosh. They did Madagascar and Happy Feet? You telling me they get the goddamn.
Feet, etc. Surf's Up was able to distinguish itself and went on to earn an Oscar.
Surf's Up, yeah, Surf's Up is literally one of the best movies to ever touch Earth. I'm not. Surf's Up and Ratatouille. Oh my gosh. No, bro. We gotta find a way to do it. I'm not joking, bro. I might just do a movie night inside of the Discord where we watch Surf's Up and Ratatouille. I'm not even joking. Because I want to do it with y'all. I just overly can't do that on stream. We might have to do that on Discord. I'm not even joking either. I think I'm going to set that up. I'm not even joking. I think I'm going to set that up, genuinely.
Oscar nomination. These early films proved Sony had technical skill and talent. They just needed to keep raising the bar. And that's where things got interesting. Because unlike Pixar, which built its identity around emotionally resonant storytelling and innovative 3D animation, or DreamWorks, which leaned into irreverent wit and pop culture, Sony didn't double down on a single style. Actually, the rule at SPA was they wouldn't adhere to any one specific visual style. Each movie would be its own universe. They kept bouncing between genres, tones, and creative leads. And while that made their output feel scattered, it also made everything unique and
fun. For sure, because each of these movies don't make me think about the other movie. Whoa! Each of these movies don't make me think about the other movie. Dead serious.
And was the reason Sony would end up defying all expectations. But we'll touch on that in a bit. In 2009, Sony released Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Heat. From when it came out, heat. I don't know what the general consensus is on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Heat. When it came out, heat.
Directed by...
I remember when it came out, it had motion too. It had motion. Like, they were shutting down libraries to do the movie theaters inside of the library. Gang, it had motion.
None other than Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And it was that exact lack of identity and creative vision that allowed them to experiment and flourish creatively. It was a weird, stylized comedy that took an absurd premise, food falling from the sky,
right,
and pushed it to visual and narrative extremes.
Right.
When most animated movies seem to be leaning into realism as much as possible, SPA's creative flexibility allowed Phil and Chris to push the boundaries. The movie was chaotic and bursting with personality, but more than anything, it felt like the product of a very specific creative vision. And that decision turned out to be pivotal. Not only was Cloudy their most successful movie to date, critically and at the box office, it also planted a seed that maybe Sony's identity wasn't about finding a formula, but rejecting one altogether. That maybe instead of one voice, the studio could become a platform for many.
Each of these movies just make you think about what they're trying to say, TBH, like what the message of the movie was or how they wanted to be received. It's like all these different movies were made just for you to enjoy without having to get a philosophy PhD. Oh my God! 2x4, you're too smart to be in my community, bro. I might ban you. You're too smart to be here, bro. I might have to ban you, bro. That's facts. That's facts.
This sounded like a great thing in practice, but it meant there would be many, and I mean many, flops thereafter. And that process of trying things, failing, slowly finding your creative voice kind of hit close to home, because I've been low-key doing the same thing while making these videos. From Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Arthur Christmas and Hotel Transylvania were two bright spots in a sea of mediocrity for the studio. It was hard to pinpoint what to expect from Sony in any given year, and they ended up falling victim to the sequel curse, releasing 10 goddamn sequels in 10 years.
That's
from 2008 to 2018. Not only that, the Smurfs, the Angry Birds movie 2, and the Emoji movie felt like attempts to chase trends and cash in on IP, which resulted in shit movies and made Sony quickly become the laughingstock of the entire...
Yeah, this was a dark era. This was a dark era. I will say I didn't go watch any of these movies. I literally didn't watch the Emoji movie. I didn't watch the Angry Birds movie. So yeah, this was rough.
Industry.
The Emoji movie was a little fall off. Okay.
But running parallel to that was something else.
Angry Bird wasn't bad. Okay.
Seen coming. The seeds of one of the greatest animated trilogies of all time were being planted in water. Because while the Emoji movie was being named into oblivion, Lord, Miller, and the Sony executives were quietly laying the foundation for something far more ambitious.
Like, what's up, Danger? Come on, get me to it.
Cloudy, they had gone on to direct the Lego movie for Warner Brothers.
And that Lego movie was a... Don't make me talk about the Lego movie in this. Boy, the Lego movie was one of the freaking ones. If you don't think the Lego movie was one of the ones, you ain't watch it. The Lego, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my. The movie was one of the ones, boy. It was one of the ones, boy. No bad.
Banger of a movie that reinforced how bold.
See, he didn't even have to throw that up for me to know that it was a hit. I've never looked at the Legos movies ratings a day in my life. Boy, I knew this joint was a hit before he even threw this up. No cap, boy.
I'll
be chill a little bit. Chill a little bit. I'll be
chill. They
chill.
could handle legacy IP, which is not an easy thing to do. It was funny, it was meta, and it made people take their brand of storytelling seriously. I mean, hell, the Lego movie is an animated classic at this point, and Sony took notice. So when the idea of a Spider-Man animated film was floated, something that had every reason to be a safe, kid-friendly spin-off, Sony wanted people that could...
Everything is awesome! Everything is good when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome! Ah! Now you good, Abhi, you good.
could push creative boundaries and handle legacy IP with proper care and ambition. So they handed it to Lord and Miller. And instead of treating it like just another superhero cash-in, they legitimately went...
Ooh, W Bond Knowledge 35.
In fact,
Yup.
Amy Pascal, who had been overseeing the Spider-Man
Yes.
franchise,
Talk that
later
Spidey
said
talk.
the smartest thing she did
Yes.
was to keep quiet and stay out of it.
Yes.
And so Into the Spider-Verse
Yes.
became the exact opposite
Yes.
of what people expected from Sony at the time. It was stylish, heartfelt,
Yes.
hilarious,
Yes.
and filled with a level of
Yes.
visual innovation that no major Western studio had attempted at that scale since Pixar in the 90s.
I'm not gonna lie, I gotta turn the volume up. He talking about Spider-Man right now, it's different. Hold on, he talking about Spider-Man, it's way different.
Suddenly, Sony was leading the charge in an entirely new direction of animation.
Right.
Where Pixar and Disney had long prized clean,
Right.
hyper-realistic CG.
They did.
Spider-Verse went the
Opposite way.
Clashing frame rates, comic book halftones, graffiti textures, hand-drawn flourishes, color-coded universes. It was a movie that looked
Look
like
at
a
it.
living comic.
Look at it.
And we all...
Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. Ooh. Needless to say, Ooh. Something you gotta prove. She wanna ride like a cruise. And I'm not trying to lose. Nah. Alright, I'm gonna chill.
Absolutely adored it. It's still one of my top 5 favorite animated movies of all time. Critics raved and animators around the world got inspired. It completely redefined what a big budget animated film could look like, while even going on to win
And shoot, I'm not even gonna cap. You got Sunflower, and then off the other joint, you got self-love. He don't love himself, tryna love me, trust me. So the truth to him, he don't trust me. Self-love, he don't love himself, tryna love me, trust me. So the truth to him, he don't trust me. Oh my, he's a long way from suburban town. Oh my, he's in the city tryna make it out. Oh my, she's a long way from suburban town. Long way, really long way from suburbia. Big dreams, yeah. Big skis, yeah. It's the random. Boy, I really do this cartoon stuff, bro. So y'all playing with me, boy.
Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. And in doing so, it proved something critical about Sony. Their chaos and lack
MJ.
of uniform style
Yes,
was
Jay.
actually their recipe to success. Or so they thought. But as we'll talk about later, things would start to get complicated behind the scenes. They had no house style, no overarching brand identity, no rigid playbook, and that very lack of structure became the thing that allowed the Spider-Verse to exist in the first place. If Sony had been more conservative, more uniform, or more brand conscious,
Right.
that movie never would have made it past the pitch phase.
Right.
Or at least it wouldn't have taken nearly as many risks as it did. So
Facts.
yes, Sony spent a decade shooting blanks for the most part, but all the while they were also building a culture that when paired with the right creatives could result in something magical. And after
Beautiful.
Into the Spider-Verse, everyone else started paying attention.
That's
Studios
AEV.
scrambled
Facts.
to capture that same unpredictable visual magic. Suddenly style
Bro, I remember do you guys remember sitting in the movie theater watching this for the first time? Like, bro, there is very few times in life where you're so consumed by something that you feel like you're out of life. Like you've left Earth. You get what I'm saying? Because you're in this universe. Like, you're captivated. Like, do y'all remember? Like, obviously, when he was jumping off the jump and you're just there. Like, you're just there with him. Like, do you remember when his mom was talking like, yo, make sure you take care of that little boy inside of you? You're just there with him. Like, you're just there. It's very few times where you could watch something in life and it makes you feel like, you know what? I'm so here without making the mental switch. You're not deciding this. That's how your brain's just so concentrated. It's like, I'm not even on Earth right now. I'm not even here right now. I'm not watching SpiderVerse. I'm literally in this jump, bro. It's just that feeling, bro. I love that feeling, bro. It don't happen often, but when it happened, and especially when it happened to this degree, bro, it's crazy.
Stylization was all the craze. DreamWorks leaned into expressive, beautiful, stylized animation with The Bad Guys, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and The Wild Robot. Netflix pushed out Nimona, Intergalactic. Even Disney tried to do their own stylized animation with Wish, although we all know how that turned out. And while the rest of the industry was still trying to catch up, Sony had already moved on, backing The Mitchells vs. the Machines, a movie that blended heartwarming family drama with chaotic internet energy, all with another awesomely stylized animation style, becoming one of the most refreshingly original animated films in
I didn't watch
years,
this, I gotta watch.
And earning them another Oscar nomination. It even made me cry when I watched it back in 2023.
I haven't watched Intergalactic. I gotta watch.
4.5 stars both of the times that I watched.
Dang! I missed out. Oh shoot! Y'all just put me on. Intergalactic. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I'm on that.
Sony had found their style and creative direction. And if Into the Spider-Verse proved that taking risks could pay off, Across the Spider-Verse proved that doubling down on creative freedom, even at the cost of complete mayhem behind the scenes, could lead to greatness. Which it did. Across the Spider-Verse became the highest grossing Sony animated movie ever, and earned them their third Oscar nomination in 5 years, which is insane. Sony had made it. A studio that was finally respected and considered among the upper echelon of animation. But yet, behind the scenes, something dark had been brewing for years. While Sony's outside facade was one of success, innovation, and creative risk, there were major cracks that the studio was covering up, threatening to undermine everything Sony had built. Because while the stylistic inconsistency and creative chaos can clearly be a recipe for greatness, it can also lead to absolute disaster. And nowhere is that clearer than behind the scenes of the Spider-Verse movies. While we were all blown away by the visuals and storytelling, the reality for the animation teams was a different story entirely.
Oh, I thought about that often. I can't imagine how difficult it must be to work at Sony, bro. Every time you come in, you just have to draw different, change your art style. People hone art styles for entire lifetimes, gang. Akira Toriyama can't draw anything besides Dragon Ball Z. Not actually, but you get what I'm saying. So the fact that people have to come into work, all right, 2 years we worked on this style, all right, let's switch it up. Like, that has to be taxing.
Talked about in my previous Spider-Verse video, the production process was insanely grueling. Artists were often left in the dark about what sequences were final, entire scenes were reanimated from scratch, sometimes multiple times, and the direction? Frequently unclear, often contradictory, and constantly shifting. This was the byproduct of a studio culture that thrives on spontaneity and last-minute creative pivots, with two people like Chris and Phil that relish in that sort of atmosphere. Phil's grip on the film was especially tight, with Amy and other producers having a more hands-off approach, and Phil's notes and comments taking precedence over anything the director said. Compare this to how studios like Pixar and Disney operate. These movies have super large budgets, yes, but the bulk of that money and time goes into development. Years of storyboarding. By the time they enter full production, the vision is usually locked. They don't waste animation on scrapped ideas because the ideas were solidified long before rendering even began. Sony, on the other hand, dove into production with many of its key ideas still evolving. This meant animators were constantly playing catch-up. One day a scene was approved, the next it was being thrown out or completely reworked.
Crazy.
And when you're working in a medium where every second of footage requires hundreds of hours of labor, that's just a ridiculous ridiculous way of working.
For sure.
Many of the artists who worked on Across the Spider-Verse have spoken out about the toll it took. Long hours, intense pressure, and an endless churn of revisions. The irony is, though, that this chaos produced
came out
one
beautiful,
of the most
though. Yeah.
celebrated.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. If you worked in Across the Spider-Verse, I'm sorry to say, you're gonna have to suffer again. You just gonna, hey, you just gonna have to suffer again, big bro. Look, bro. I get it. It was a lot. It was hard. You didn't see your family, work conditions, mental health, all of that. That's cool. Suffer. Look, bro. Look. At the end of the day, this is the job that you chose. And I just want to show you that I support your field. You feel what I'm saying? So, yeah, get back on that tablet, bro. I don't need to hear much about your emotions. I'm not going to lie. Nah, I get it, though. I can understand how that's a hassle. I've done animation work for people before, and getting back one revision makes me want to, in GTA, close the game. But I can't imagine doing it for a movie over and over and over. I know that's taxing.
Animated films of the decade. Can a studio sustain this level of experimentation without sacrificing the well-being of its artists? That's the paradox of Sony Animation. Their inconsistency allows for radical brilliance, but left unchecked, it can just as easily lead to burnout.
Right.
And yet, despite all of that, I still believe Sony is about to become the best animation studio in the next 5 years, and I'm gonna tell you why right now. Because for all its flaws, that very chaos is exactly what sets them apart.
Right.
It's what allows them to take risks other studios won't,
Right.
and as unpredictable as their track record may be, their upcoming slate might just be the clearest sign yet that Sony Animation is evolving, not into the most consistent studio, but maybe the most daring, and potentially the most important.
I was gonna say the most dynamic is really what it feels like.
What's coming next isn't just more of the same.
Right.
It's weirder, riskier, more
Right.
original. They're releasing K-pop Demon Hunters as we speak, a genre mashup about a girl K-pop group that moonlights as demon slayers. And although the premise is weird, the trailer looks genuinely good. And people are already praising it early on. They've got Fixed coming up, an R-rated animated comedy about a dog trying to escape his neutering appointment by the creator and director of Samurai Jack, by the way. And this is the first R-rated animated movie by a major Western
super
studio.
good.
They've got Black Knight, an animated fantasy epic from the same guy, a Mitchells vs. the Machines sequel, which is one of the few sequels I'm genuinely excited for. They've got an animated sports comedy movie about a goat that dreams of going pro in his favorite sport. And of course, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, the final chapter that could cement this is the best animated trilogy of all time. But what's most exciting about all these projects is that they're mostly original stories.
Right.
I mean, they have 7.
And you guys got to think about it, bro. We're in such a time right now where originality is being pummeled into the freaking ground because every company doesn't want to take a risk from their pockets hurting anymore. That if there's good originality coming out and it's just made beautifully and it's made passionately, bro, this is literally, it's one of our only supplies left outside of Twitch and YouTube and social media content where we could get good original content from. Like, especially in terms of studio, it's one of the last studios we could get good original concepts from. Real talk.
Original projects coming out from this point forward, and on top of that, in 2020 they stated they wanted to focus more on R-rated animated movies, which is a completely different approach to the other major studios and is so incredibly exciting. Honestly, what they're doing is so rare in today's animation landscape.
Right.
Disney is leading harder than ever into sequels and remakes, and even their original stuff seems incredibly bland and safe. Pixar is kind of doing the same with...
Nah, wait, Elementals was good. Don't talk about Elementals. Elementals was dummy 5. I won't let y'all have that one. I'm not gonna lie. Elementals was dummy hard.
3 out of their 5 upcoming movies being sequels. Meanwhile, Sony is completely setting themselves apart. And somehow, even with all the chaos, or maybe because of it, they're creating space for the next wave of animation innovation. So yes, Sony might still be inconsistent, they might still frustrate their artists, but if they can refine their process, improve their working conditions without neutering their creative process, and continue backing unique creative risks, I genuinely believe that they could become the studio that defines the next 5 to 10 years of animation.
Fantastic video, my boy. If you guys like the video, make sure you like, comment, subscribe down below. W video from the dog. And I'm going to catch you in the next one. Goodbye. Peace.